Good evening again. This is me. That's right. It's your boy, the moderate conservative, or the Matty Man, however you'd like to address it. I'm good with that. This is my YouTube channel. I can be found on Facebook with, you call this fact checking, many other ones which I'll post later on. I have a lot of conservative thought areas which they don't have that many followers. Some of them do, some of them don't, and that's fine. The fact of the matter is, the truth is still the truth, whether people follow you or they don't follow you. That's just the way it is. And there are some, believe it or not, don't have a heart attack here, and please don't turn this off. But there are some things liberals say that I can actually get with. The problem is the way they try to implement them. They hide behind what's been termed as safe words that regardless kill the argument right away. You know, Affordable Care Act. Even if you find something wrong with it, oh, so you're against affordable care for everybody? Oh my goodness, I can't believe you. That's the way they frame the arguments. They start off with this absolute, seemingly unwinnable thought, and they develop from there with their pork products and everything else that we all know that goes along with it. But I believe everybody should have affordable health care. I believe that, everyone should be equal. Call me crazy. I believe that everyone should be completely equal. I also, actually, crazily enough, believe that government shouldn't be involved with marriage, rights, any of that stuff. It should be universal. That being said, though, I have read from a Wisconsin state senator today that they were celebrating awareness for unequal pay for black women. It states in there unequivocally, that black women make 63 cents to every non-Hispanic, read in there white Anglo-Saxon male, to every one of their dollars. And this is something we need to be aware of. And I agree. We need to be aware of it. The problem is the argument is rooted in that we are somehow disenfranchising people of color, to be politically correct, alternative lifestyles, to be politically correct, and females based on gender. And that's just not how it's happening. Because Democrats are really, really good at telling you what you should be getting. And they're really, really good at gerrymandering the legislation with fancy words to make you think that they're in it for you. And that's wisdom, because right now they have a lot of fans. Who within the sound of my voice thinks that if we're both doing the same work, that we shouldn't be getting the same pay? No one. But the problem is no one understands what goes in the paycheck. If you pay close enough attention at your job place, this is what goes into your paycheck. You have given a trade to the company for which remuneration is expected. In other words, it's an exchange. Your labor for their money. Now, this is where it gets convoluted. We all go in the building the same. But then this concept called diversity kicks in. And diversity states that regardless of accomplishment, regardless of seniority, regardless of any of this, there should be a certain number of people in a certain number of positions, and they should fit a certain background, and that's just how it works. We should be the vision of the population. That's how they sell diversity. So I go in to the job with a female equally comparable on paper, in practice, the whole 9 yards. Well, okay, 2 positions ahead of me, they have a bunch of, let's just call it what it is, grumpy old white men. And they need to diversify that area. So they're going to promote or dismiss or retire one of these grumpy old white men. And the young lady that came in with me, they're going to go to her and they're going to say, hey, do you want this spot? It's a couple of jumps. It's a better title. Works a little bit different, but we think you can do it. And of course, because of the way it's normally sold, she's going to go, well, absolutely, sign me up. You know, I get a little pay bump, right? Oh, yeah. We're going to bring you up to, let's say we walked in the door at $15 an hour, and this new job, if you came in off the street, paid $19 an hour. Okay. So they move her up, and they immediately pop her up to $19 an hour. They train her, whole 9 yards, etc. And this works with, regardless of who you are, what you are, how it works, regardless of what color you are, regardless of what gender you are, if you come in the door as a level 1 and immediately within 6 to 8 months get promoted to a level 3, skipping level 2, it works this way. It doesn't matter who you are. They're not going to give you an extra pay bump because Joe Bob Jimmy Bob over here is actually making $22 an hour. But Joe Bob Jimmy Bob has been with the company for 10 years. You've been with the company for 6 months. And Joe Bob Jimmy Bob is not going anywhere. But you're rising up the ladder. So you're making 19. Joe Bob Jimmy Bob is making 22. They're not going to tell you that part. That's not the part of it. You're still going to do the same amount of work that Joe Bob Jimmy Bob's doing. What they're not going to give you is the background that Joe Bob Jimmy Bob is as far as Joe Bob Jimmy Bob is going to go. So all of a sudden now you're sitting in the break room one day and you say, hey, Joe Bob Jimmy Bob, how you doing? I wish I could make a little more money. They're only paying me like $22 an hour. And your brain goes, oh my goodness, I'm only making $19 an hour. This is unreal. No, it's not. It's totally real. And here's a clue. When they bump you again, and they will, because each area needs to have a certain amount of diversification to make diversity 50 and many, many other things, you're going to get bumped again. So, and you're probably going to take that job because you're mad enough that Joe Bob Jimmy Bob is making 22 an hour and you're making 19. So that's an automatic, I'm moving on. Okay? So you get up to that point and you run into Billy Bob. Now, from 19 to the next job, you may get kicked twice, and the base pay for that might be 23. So now you're making more money. You've skipped 5 titles. Now, bear with me here, but that's as far as they're going to move you for the next 5 years. Something you need to remember. Meanwhile, Billy Bob over there has been sitting there for 20 years. And Billy Bob is capped out at $26 an hour. So one day you're sitting around in the break room and Billy Bob's not anymore. He's just not any smarter than Joe Bob Billy Bob down there. And he goes, you know, I got to find another job. This is driving me nuts. And you're sitting there thinking to yourself, I don't know, $23 is not bad. I'm finally ahead of Joe Bob Billy Bob up there. I'm finally making more than him, so on and so forth. And Billy Bob over here says, they're only paying me $26 an hour to do this job. And all of a sudden, you're back to infuriated. That's how the system works. Now, what they should do, and what I've said in a Facebook post, is if they're going to pass anything, Lilly Ledbetter was dumb. Because that's basically whitewashing, forgive the pun, but that's what they're doing. Whitewashing a problem they created. In other words, they created this concept called diversity. They sold you on the idea of it. They sold the companies on the idea of it, vis-a-vis taxes and everything else. And what they really did was create a new underclass of you doing the same amount of work that people who've been there for a long time are doing for a lot less money, because they've been there a long time and you haven't. Now, here's the problem. One of these days, you remember me back here in the background. I was the guy that started out at $15 an hour. It took me 6 years to get where you're at. And I'm going to be making maybe $28, $29 an hour, because I got all the raises and the pay bumps that you got. And I went through each step and got a pay bump for each step. Now, meanwhile, you're locked in at $24 an hour because it's changed, and so on and so on and so on. That's how the system works. That's why we are where we are in our modern workplace. That's why it is the way it is. It just simply is that way because we made it that way. So if you're going to pass anything, and I do mean anything, it should be, and I'm going to use a trick out of the Democrats' playbook, fairness in reporting on hires and promotions. That should be an act. That way, when you sit down to talk about this promotion, they're going to have to tell you by law, hey, you know, the best we can do for you right now is give you base pay, and there are going to be some people in your department that make way more money and do the same job. They've been here a lot longer. They've had a whole lot going on. This is how this works. So you can have the title, or that dude you came in with, you can get the same raise as he gets. You probably get a little bit more because you're probably a little bit better than he is. You never know. It's up to you. You can have the title, you can have the money. You can't have both. And I think if they did that, it would solve the pay gap, but it would break the diversity gap. Because no one in their right mind is going to walk into a room for a simple set of words and make less money. That's what they don't want you to know. I am the Matty Man. I am the moderate conservative. Until next time.